They thought they had me, a scared kid on a dark street, until I called my mom. They had no idea they were about to meet the silencer. The streetlights flickered on, one by one, like tired eyes opening to the dusk. My breath plumed in the chilly autumn air, and I pulled the strings of my hoodie tighter, trying to keep the bite of the wind off my neck. All I wanted was to get home, dump my ridiculously heavy backpack, and collapse. My bus had been late, so I'd decided to cut through Kensington Park, the nice part of town, to shave 10 minutes off my walk. It was a path I'd taken 1,000 times before, a ribbon of concrete winding between manicured lawns and houses with big, welcoming porch lights. Tonight, though, something felt different. The welcoming lights seemed more like interrogations lamps. I was halfway down the final stretch, a long, tree-lined street named after some kind of flower, when the world behind me dissolved into flashing red and blue. A police cruiser, which had been silent and invisible moments before, screamed to a halt beside me, its tires crunching on the gravel shoulder. My heart didn't just drop, it plummeted. Every lesson, every talk, every news story I'd ever seen flooded my mind at once. I was 17, I was wearing a hoodie, and I was black in a neighborhood where I didn't live. The trifecta. 2 officers got out. One was older, with a thick mustache and a belly that strained the buttons on his uniform. He was the one who spoke, his voice carrying an easy, bored authority. The other was younger, leaner, and silent, his eyes hidden behind a pair of reflective sunglasses, which was ridiculous given that the sun had set an hour ago. "Evening," the older one said, stopping a few feet in front of me, blocking my path. "Where you headed in such a hurry?" I slowly, deliberately pulled my headphones down around my neck. "Just heading home, officer." My own voice sounded small, shaky. "Home?" He looked around the empty street, the big 2-story houses with their perfect gardens. "You live around here?" The question was a trap, and we both knew it. "No, sir. I live over on the east side. My bus was running late. I was just cutting through." His eyes scanned me, but they weren't just looking. They were cataloguing. Hoodie, dark jeans, backpack, the uniform. "We've had a string of break-ins in this area," he said, his tone shifting from bored to accusatory. "Young man, matching your description, been seen scoping out houses." My blood ran cold. "My description!" I wanted to scream. "What description?" "Tall, young, breathing." But I remembered the rules my dad had drilled into me since I was 12. Keep your hands visible. Don't make sudden moves. Be respectful, even when they're not. "Yes, sir. No, sir." Survive the encounter. "I haven't done anything, officer. I'm just walking home from school." "Let's see some ID," he demanded. I nodded slowly. "Okay, it's in my backpack. I'm going to reach for it now." He tensed up, his hand drifting down to rest on the butt of his gun. The younger officer shifted his weight, a silent threat. I moved like I was handling a bomb, shrugging the backpack off one shoulder, unzipping the front pocket, and carefully pulling out my wallet. I handed over my student ID. He barely glanced at it before handing it back. "This doesn't prove where you live. What's in the bag?" "Textbooks," I said, my frustration starting to bubble over. "A laptop. My lunchbox. You want to see?" The officer, who I now saw had a name tag that read Miller, smirked. It was a cruel, knowing smirk that said he had all the power and was enjoying every second of it. "You're getting a little agitated there, son. Makes you look guilty." He took a step closer, invading my space. "Why don't you put the bag down and place your hands on the hood of my car?" It wasn't a question. It was an order. The humiliation washed over me in a hot wave. I did as he said, the cold metal of the car biting into my palms. He kicked my feet apart and started patting me down, his hands rough and impersonal. He found nothing, of course. Then he went for my backpack, dumping my carefully organized books and binders onto the hood with a loud clatter. My half-eaten sandwich fell out, landing on the ground with a pathetic splat. The younger officer, Davis, finally spoke, his voice quiet. "Miller, maybe that's enough." Miller shot him a glare. "You got a problem, Davis." He turned back to me. "See? You got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about." He gestured to my phone, which lay on top of my calculus textbook. "Tell you what, You seem like a good kid who just made a bad decision cutting through here. Why don't you call your mommy or daddy to come vouch for you? Tell them where you are. We'll wait." The offer was a final twist of the knife, designed to make me feel like a child, but in his arrogance he'd given me an opening. My dad would just get angry, probably yell, and make things 1,000 times worse. But my mom was a different kind of storm. Quiet, precise, and absolutely devastating when she needed to be. My hands were trembling as I picked up my phone and dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. "Leo, are you okay?" "Mom," I choked out, my voice cracking. "I'm on Kensington Avenue, by the park entrance. There are some police officers here." Miller laughed, a low, ugly sound. "Tell her to hurry it up." There was a pause on the other end of the line, a silence so profound it felt like the air pressure was dropping. When she spoke again, her voice was completely transformed. All the warmth was gone, replaced by a blade of pure, cold steel. "Leo, put me on speaker." I did. Her voice, crisp and clear, filled the quiet street. "This is Special Agent Cassandra Williams. To which officers am I speaking?" Miller's smirk faltered. He exchanged a confused look with Davis. "Ma'am, this is Officer Miller with the city police. Your son matches the description of a burglary suspect." "Officer Miller," my mom's voice cut through the air, sharp as glass. "Keep your hands off my son. Do not move him. Do not ask him any more questions. I am 7 minutes away." "And trust me," she said, her voice dropping to a deadly calm. "You want me to get there before my husband does." The line went dead. Miller stared at my phone, then at me. The smug confidence was gone, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. The 7 minutes that followed were the longest of my life. Miller and Davis stood there, muttering to each other, occasionally shooting me nervous glances. I just stood, frozen by the car. Then I heard it. It wasn't the sound of a family minivan or a sensible sedan. It was a low, powerful growl that seemed to vibrate in my bones. A pair of aggressive razor-thin headlights cut through the darkness at the end of the street. A sleek black Dodge Charger, the kind you see in movies, not in suburban neighborhoods, came flying down the road and screeched to a halt behind the police cruiser, bathing us all in blindingly bright light. The driver's side door swung open. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the headlights. She was wearing a tailored pantsuit, and the click of her heels on the pavement sounded like gunshots in the silent night. Officer Miller squinted, his hand instinctively going to his weapon before he seemed to think better of it. He saw the sharp suit, the determined stride, the aura of absolute authority. He didn't see a worried mother. He saw exactly what I saw. He saw the reason her colleagues, from the junior agents all the way up to the director, never called her Cassie. They called her the Silencer. My mom didn't run, she didn't even hurry. She moved with a measured, deliberate pace that was far more terrifying than any frantic sprint could have been. The world seemed to shrink, focusing on the three of them, a predator sizing up her prey. I was just a spectator now, standing amidst the wreckage of my school supplies on the hood of the car. My mom stopped directly in front of Officer Miller, close enough that he had to take a half step back. She didn't even glance at me. Her entire, undivided attention was locked on him. "You have 30 seconds to explain why my son is in an investigatory stop without reasonable suspicion," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the night air, sharp and absolute. Miller, to his credit, tried to recover some of his swagger. "Ma'am, as I told you on the phone, your son matches the description of a suspect." "What description?" she interrupted, her voice dropping a degree colder. "Give it to me, exactly as it came over dispatch." Miller blinked. A young black male, late teens, wearing a dark hoodie." A flicker of something, not quite a smile, but a shadow of one touched my mother's lips. "A young black male, in a hoodie, in a city of 500,000 people. That's your entire description?" She took a small step forward, and Miller flinched. "Is that the standard of probable cause in this precinct, Officer Miller? Or is that just the standard you apply on this side of town?" Officer Davis shifted his feet, looking anywhere but at the confrontation. He looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. We have a right to question anyone who seems suspicious, Miller blustered, his voice losing its edge. You have a right to conduct a Terry stop if you have a reasonable, articulable suspicion that a person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a crime. My mom corrected him, her tone like a law professor lecturing a failing student. Scattering a minor's belongings across the hood of your vehicle, however, looks a lot more like an illegal search and seizure. I'm sure your captain would be very interested in my interpretation. She finally turned her head slightly, her gaze flicking over to my things, then back to Miller. So I'll ask again. What crime did you suspect my son of committing, right here, right now, that justified this? Miller was speechless. His face had gone from ruddy to pale. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I didn't think so, my mom said. She reached into the inside of her suit jacket and pulled out a slim leather wallet. She didn't flash it. She opened it calmly and held it up for him to see. The gold badge and credentials inside seemed to suck all the light out of the street. Special Agent Cassandra Williams, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The last bit of air went out of Miller's sails. Davis audibly swallowed. The reflective sunglasses couldn't hide the panic in his eyes now. Now, my mom continued, putting her credentials away, you are going to give me your badge numbers, both of you. Then you are going to pick up every single one of my son's belongings, including his sandwich, and you are going to place them carefully back in his backpack. Then we are all going to wait here for your watch commander to arrive, because I've already called him. He's about 4 minutes out. It was a masterclass. In the span of 90 seconds, she had stripped them of their authority, corrected their understanding of the law, identified herself as a federal agent, and informed them their boss was on the way. She had taken complete and total control. Miller and Davis looked at each other, their partnership dissolving into mutual blame, right before my eyes. Defeated, Miller mumbled his badge number, and Davis followed suit, his voice barely a whisper. As they bent down stiffly to start gathering my things, my mom pulled out her phone. Her thumb moved over the screen. I thought she was texting my dad. But then she looked up, her gaze laser-focused on Officer Miller, who was now awkwardly trying to stuff my calculus book back into my bag. Officer Miller, she said, her voice deceptively casual. Badge number 734. He froze, his hand hovering over my bag. I know that name, she continued, a thoughtful, almost predatory look in her eyes. There was an internal affairs review on a patrolman named Miller last year. Something about a drug bust where a significant amount of evidence went missing before it could be logged. She tilted her head. That was you, wasn't it? The investigation was closed. Insufficient evidence. She took a step closer, and the two of them were now locked in a silent battle of wills over the hood of the car. Funny thing about federal jurisdiction, officer. Cases can be reopened, especially when new patterns of questionable conduct emerge. The silence that followed was so absolute I could hear the faint hum of the streetlights. Officer Miller looked as if he'd been tasered. His mouth hung slightly open, his face a mask of disbelief and dawning horror. He wasn't just dealing with an angry parent anymore. He was facing a ghost from his past, a ghost with a badge, and the full weight of the federal government behind her. My mom let the threat hang in the air, a perfectly timed grenade with the pin already pulled. She didn't need to say another word. Just then, another set of headlights appeared, this one from a standard-issue police SUV. It pulled up quietly, and a man in a sergeant's uniform got out. He was older than Miller, with tired lines etched around his eyes, and he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He saw the scene, the two patrolmen standing stiffly, the contents of my backpack scattered on the car, and a woman in a power suit who radiated an intimidating calm, and sighed. "Agent Williams?" he asked, his voice weary. This was Sergeant Evans, the watch commander. "Sergeant," my mom acknowledged with a crisp nod. "I'm glad you could make it. Your officers were just assisting my son." If the word assisting was laced with so much sarcasm it could have rusted the car. They stopped him based on a vague description that could fit half the young men in this city. They then proceeded to conduct what appears to be an unlawful search of his person and property. I trust you'll be pulling the dash and body cam footage for review. Evans's eyes darted to Miller, and a look of profound disappointment crossed his face. "Miller, "What the hell did you do?" he muttered under his breath, before turning back to my mom. "Ma'am, on behalf of my department, I sincerely apologize. This is not how we operate." "I hope not, Sergeant," my mom said smoothly, "because I've also taken the liberty of placing a call to the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division to make them aware of a potential pattern of racially biased policing in this precinct. They are very interested in patterns." That was the final blow. Miller physically recoiled, as if he'd been struck. The mention of the DOJ took this from a career-ending problem to a life-altering catastrophe for him. Sergeant Evans looked grim. He knew he wasn't just managing a complaint anymore. He was trying to prevent a federal investigation. "Miller, Davis, in my car." "Now," Evans commanded, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You're on administrative duty until further notice. Internal Affairs will be in touch." He then turned to me, his expression softening. "Son, I am truly sorry you had to go through this." He personally helped me pack the last of my things into my backpack, his movements careful and respectful. Miller and Davis trudged over to the SUV like men walking to the gallows, never once looking back. As the two police vehicles pulled away, leaving only my mom's sleek black Charger humming in the quiet street, the tension finally broke. My knees felt weak, and I leaned against her car for support. My mom walked over to me. The FBI agent was gone. This was just my mom again. She put a hand on my shoulder, her touch firm and reassuring. "Are you okay, Leo?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded, my throat tight. We got in the car, the silence inside a stark contrast to the chaos of the last half hour. The leather seats felt cool and safe. As she pulled away from the curb, I finally found my voice. "The thing you said about his old case, was that true?" She glanced at me, her face illuminated by the dashboard lights. "Every word. I don't make threats, Leo. I make statements of fact." She turned her eyes back to the road. "Some people only understand consequences." We drove the rest of the way home in comfortable silence. As we pulled into our driveway, I looked at her, really looked at her. I'd always known what she did for a living, of course. I'd seen her in her suit, heading off to work with her serious briefcase. But tonight, I didn't just see my mom. I saw the silencer. I saw the quiet, unshakable force she was. She wasn't just a shield for our country. She was a shield for me. And in a world that could sometimes feel so cold and hostile, I had never been more grateful to be her son.